Even if it seems like we have the perfect tone model on Tonex loaded up and it's sounding great, there could be times where we need to make subtle adjustments to a particular tone to have it sit in a mix better, or maybe dial it into our monitoring system or the room that we're in. And one of my favorite set of tools that a lot of folks overlook in Tonex, and I'm asked about a lot, are those of what's here in the advanced controls, and more specifically the bass frequency, treble, and treble frequency controls. Now, I have talked about these in the past, but I wanted to do a dedicated video, kind of updated here, and show you exactly how I would use these controls to get your tone models exactly where you want in a very intuitive, quick, simple fashion. I have done videos about the presence and depth control, which are really, really handy, but the bass and treble controls, when utilized properly, can be very effective also. So first things first, we have to understand what these are. These are both shelf EQs. So a shelf EQ is basically going to take whatever frequency we set it at, and it's going to take all the frequencies wherever we have that frequency set to, and in case of the treble frequency, it's going to boost or cut all the frequencies above that, and in the case of the bass frequency, it's going to boost or cut all the frequencies below that. Thus the term shelf, because it's basically going to boost them all in a manner that if we saw it visually would look kind of like a shelf. So I always set mine to post. Now obviously we can set it to pre, but for our examples here and for how I use it, we're going to keep this in post so that basically all of these controls right here are going to come after the tone model. So the settings I usually start with are taking my treble frequency, which I believe by default might be set around the 2000 hertz mark, but I bring that all the way down to 1000 hertz. I actually kind of wish this went a little bit lower. My favorite setting on high and low shelf is to set them both to 650 hertz, and I find that that gives a really beautiful tone shaping tool, but we can get away with the 1000 hertz frequency here. And on the bass frequency, I like to take this and go as high as I can. Again, I would prefer that to go to 650, but we're close enough here with the 600. So let's start here. Basically, what's going to happen is if we start off with a tone model, and I'm using a single tone model here from my Match Club 35 Ultimate and DI collection. I'll have the links below to these if you're so inclined, you like what you hear today, want to grab a copy. This is based off of my absolutely killer Matchless Clubman 35 amplifier. Beautiful, beautiful amp. And this is what these sound like just as I captured them without any tweaks. I'm on the bridge pickup on my Gibson SG. I really love the way this sounds. I can go to the middle position and the neck. But let's say we have a particular situation where we're playing that, and maybe for some reason the room we're in or the monitoring system, maybe it's sounding a little too thick and maybe muddy. Let's go into that neck position and say, maybe we want to thin that out a little bit. So I could come here, set my bass frequency up to that 600 area, and what that's going to do when I cut this, because we're trying to remove some of that low end, it's also going to take out some of those frequencies that have some of the mud in them around the 400, 450 hertz area. So let's go to extremes here. I'm going to take this back to where we started from, and I'm going to take it all the way down. Now, I don't recommend that you have to do this, but just to let you hear what the effect of these particular settings are. Notice it really kind of maybe gave a little more clarity. Now, whether that's what you want or not is completely irrelevant right now. It's just what it can do, and we can make those decisions on our own. Now, I wouldn't go that heavy-handed. Here we are back to where we started. What if we came back to maybe 3.5? Now, you might find that when we go back to our bridge pickup, maybe that's too thin, or if we went further than that. You know, so we can play around with this to try to find just that perfect happy medium. So let's go there. The other thing we can do is go to real extremes and then sweep through the frequencies to find exactly where we want to set this. So setting things to extremes like this, not necessarily we're going to keep it there, is a good way to just sort of hear exactly what's going on when we do make setting changes. But let's leave it there. We'll bring this down to around 3.5. And now let's come up to our treble frequencies, set to this 1,000 starting point. And I'm going to just add a little bit of sparkle to this. Again, if we go to extremes, gets quite bright. Not that I would like that, but you can really hear what effect this has, and then we can pull it back to a more normal value. Now, what happens if we pull that all the way back? Hear how it really dulls things up. So if we had an overly bright preset, we could also use that to kind of pull it back as well. You know, if I'm on my bridge pickup, and I wanted to add some fullness, pull back some treble. I'm not saying that this particular tone model needs any of these. I'm just kind of demonstrating utilizing this. So back to the way we started, which I really like and I find is beautifully balanced. You could say, I want to add a little bit more sparkle to that. Or we could say we want to dull it up a little bit. It's a little bit more of a warmth to it, or we could add some fullness to it. Or we could take some of that fullness away. So I hope that that helps, and I think that you can realize now how powerful these controls can be. I would encourage you to play around with different frequencies, go to extremes, mess around with it, see what it does for the tone models you're using. But I think once you get used to it, you'll find that using the treble and bass shelf EQs in Tonex can be a really quick, intuitive way to dial things into perfection, especially when you don't have a lot of time to get in and maybe deal with more surgical EQs. These can be real lifesavers and can dial tones in very quickly. I'm going to leave you today with the full-blown demo video showcasing the Match Club 35 and Ultimate and DI collection. The links will be below if you're so inclined to like what you heard today. And you get to hear these together in a full production. I hope you enjoy that. Thanks so much for sharing your time with me. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment of watching it. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Ciao for now.